Welcome back, Bills are Red, to another Minecraft Bedrock Edition tutorial. Today, I had the version 3 of the Impossible Item Sorter. Now, this Impossible Item Sorter sorts all possible non-stackable items using just simple redstone mechanics, so no allays, just simply everything that can possibly be done using just redstone and redstone alone. And then if you want to include player interaction, using a semi-automatic system, you can sort out armor and tools from all those other non-stackable items. Now, of course, you could just use allays for all these different items to sort them out that way, but this system is actually faster and more reliable than using allays, in the sense that allays are very buggy in Bedrock Edition, and all these can be sorted out using just redstone alone, and is very reliable. Especially if you build this all in one chunk, you shouldn't see any problems with this sorter. While the system is massive, it is also massively compact. It is only 13 blocks long, 7 blocks deep, and 8 blocks tall, and that sorts out all 13 of these different items. Now, if I go ahead and throw in a barrel full of non-stackable items, a bunch of these are really hard to sort. You'll see the entire system kick into action. Now, the system starts off with a hopper speed section that sorts off all your stackable items, which will end up in this barrel right here. From this barrel or from this chest, either or, you can take to your actual sorting system. So either this can be the end of your sorting system, and this will be your overflow stackable item chest, or this could be the beginning of your sorting system, and then simply just take a hopper line out from that double chest. Then to the right of that, we sort out Shulkerboxes by simply Shulkerboxes cannot be placed inside Shulkerboxes. Because of that, we're able to sort them out super easily. Now, to the right of the Shulkerbox sorter, we do have to slow everything down slightly. It can't work at hopper speed because Bedrock Redstone isn't quite fast enough to handle items at that speed, but having just one item every second, the system works great. So this first part is what sorts out all our Tridents. Now, how we're able to sort out Tridents is basically by trying to fire the Trident in a block. If it fires it into a block, you should be able to walk right up here to the corner and pick up all these Tridents that you will put into the barrel. And this is one of the two semi-automatic systems in here. Tridents, unless you use allays, cannot be sorted completely automatically, but this semi-automatic option works really well. Even logging out and logging back in, those Tridents should still be there. The Tridents don't typically despawn even if you are to log out or log back in, but if you do unload the chunks, there is a bug where sometimes the Tridents will fall through the floor and make it all the way to the ground or go down a couple of blocks. So I would recommend before unloading the chunks or before logging off to go make sure that there's no Tridents in your sorter. The light will let you know anytime the system's in use, and when the light's off, all you have to do is simply walk in here to pick up all the Tridents. Now from there, it goes on to the next two easiest items to sort. That is potions and enchanted books. Potions, put in the side of a brewing stand, they will go in there and then get pulled out, and there we got all our potions. Books, using the chiseled bookshelf, we can simply put them in, and you can see they'll come down into the double chest down here. So this will just keep all your books and quills, all your enchanted books, all your books like that will all be taken here to the side. Now, to the left, actually, of the enchanted books is where we have our flint and steel and shears sorter. Basically, by using a certain aspect of the trident sorter, we can also sort out flint and steel and shears. And then by detecting whether it is trying to set fire to an observer, we can detect whether it is a flint and steel or whether it is a shears. So both those items are really easy to sort out as well. So after sorting out these 6 non-stackable items, all the items will come to the very back side where we have an item elevator where they get slowed down so that they start entering through the system at about 1 every 2.5 to 3 seconds. Here is where we start handling the hard ones. For example, water buckets. Water buckets are being dispensed right into a wall, and then we are dispensing that, collecting it back, and that goes into the double chest down here. If you have an axolotl in the system, don't worry. You're not going to lose the axolotl. The axolotl is going to go straight down into a pit right here, the water bucket here to the side, and then you can simply grab the axolotl if you want it back, and then put that in the chest yourself. Now, if you are to throw any other type of fish into the system, for example, cod or salmon, the system will still work as normal. The water bucket will go down, the cod will go straight down, but if you have any axolotls already in there, the axolotls will eat that cod or salmon, and you will find some bones and fish down here. The one thing to note about this system, though, is if you have any tropical fish or pufferfish, they will break the system if they enter it. What will happen is it will simply move this hopper minecart right here around, and that's going to prevent other items from sorting properly. So just make sure that when you're sorting, to make sure not to have a pufferfish or tropical fish. Those are the only 2 items that cannot enter the system at all. And if they did enter the system, the axolotls would eat them anyways. So it's probably a good idea to keep them far away from your axolotl supply. All the rest of the items will go from the hopper minecart to this red system. This red system is a very complex lava and powder snow sorter. What this does, it simply sees if it can move the item and if it is a bucket. If it's a bucket, then of course it's going to either be powder snow or lava, because we've already sorted out all the water, and if it can be moved, then of course it is powder snow. And then lava, of course, will be up here. After sorting out the lava and powder snow, it of course sorts out all your minecarts, whether TNT, hopper minecarts, normal minecarts, or chest minecarts. All 4 of those will end up in this minecart chest, and then we'll also sort out boats, regardless whether it's a chest boat, or a raft. All those will end up there. And then, of course, the music disc, using a jukebox, we are able to sort them out. Whenever any non-stackable items come in, they cannot be put in a jukebox, but a music disc can. So that will play, and then when the song's over, then the rest of the non-stackable items are able to get through the system. That is the one downside to sorting out music discs. You do have to listen to the entire song before the music disc will come into this chest. And because of that, we have another little clock back here. This clock will simply keep all remaining non-stackable items in the chest and in the hopper until that music disc is done playing. If you want to speed it up, you can come back here, pick up the music disc, and let it go through the system, and then you can put it in the chest manually, and it will sort out the rest of the non-stackable items, and that will go into this double chest right here. Now, all the remaining non-stackable items are going to be like tools, armor, and then a couple others. For example, there's horse armor, there's bows, totems, there's beds, milk buckets, you got the spyglass, the brush, any horns, you got fishing rods, crossbows. But if you want to sort some of these items out, you can use this simple armor sorter. What this armor sorter does is basically sees whether the item can be equipped to an armor stand. For example, an elytra can be equipped to an armor stand. So what you have to do is simply stand right here in /game mode survival and place in your armor stand. If it can be placed on the armor stand, it'll go over to the side where it will get hit by a trident, and that trident will destroy the armor stand. Now you can see in these 2 chests what the system is great for. In this right, basically any item that can be equipped to an armor stand. So any item you might think, for example, the armor, of course, elytras, shields, any basic tool, a pickaxe also comes through, and any fishing rod and crossbow. What the system sorts out automatically for you is, for example, totems, bows, because they cannot be equipped to armor stands, horse armor and saddles, and then beds, milk buckets, goat horns, spyglass, and brushes, and any other non-stackable items like that. They can only be sorted out using an allay. And then, of course, you can sort these armor and tools out further if you actually use an allay. Now, if you want to look at this in greater detail, or you want to make sure that this works in your world, then go ahead, look at the world download, and double check everything to make sure it all works perfectly for you before building this. This is a complex build, and it's going to require a lot of thought and patience to make sure it is built correctly. I've tested this system vigorously in all different cardinal directions, and especially if you keep this in one chunk, there is absolutely no issues you should find with the system. Always check the comment section below. I'll have a pinned comment if any of that changes. Now, if you enjoy over-the-top crazy redstone content like this, then please give this video a like and subscribe button. You have no idea how complicated an impossible item sorter like this is, and a lot of time and effort goes on behind the scenes for this. So if you can just give this video a like or subscribe, that would help me out a ton. But let's get into the tutorial. Now, before we get started with the tutorial, of course, material list and world download is in the description below, but I do want to mention the actual layout of the chest in the front of this sorter. Now, I do want to quickly say that if you're not keen about this chest layout, I did make it so that you could have like a floor right here at the base level and have access to every single one of these chests. But if you need more storage, or you just want the storage to be more uniform, that is completely fine. All these double chests gives plenty of access for hopper lines to go underneath them. Or, for example, you can simply split a double chest like this, put it on the other side, and that will allow you to get hoppers into both of those, or they just have some extra storage. like the Shulkerboxes and stackable items do. Those aren't necessary, and if you're going to move all the items to somewhere different, of course, remove them. Only have the storage you need. Now for this tutorial, I'm first going to be showing out how to build the actual impossible item sorter, and then if you stick around at the very end, I'll show you how to add on the armor and tool sorter to the very end of the system if you want to also sort out all your armor and tools. Now to make sure that this works as flawlessly as possible, the two best things you can do is to follow this tutorial very slowly and make sure everything's done right. So first watch what I do and then do it. And the second best thing you can do is to chunk align this build. This build is smaller than a 16 by 16 chunk, and if you don't understand how chunks work, then simply go to chunkbase.com to look up coordinates, or use Foxy No-Tail's resource pack, something along those lines, and chunk align this. So that means have the entire system in one chunk. This makes sure that when you unload it as one entire unit, instead of just half the unit, and then you unload the other half. There shouldn't be problems if this is on a chunk line, but that is oftentimes one of the most common reasons why a system like this might fail. So we're going to go ahead and start over here to an empty layout I made. Now again, the layout and sizing for this material list, all that's in the description below. It is 13 blocks long, 7 blocks deep, and 8 blocks tall. Now we are going to start off on the top left hand side of our system, and this is going to be 2 blocks in from either edge, the 8th block up. Now we're going to come down 1 temporary block from our input, and then come over 2 temporary blocks, break those first 2, with 2 hoppers going like that. Then we'll come 2 hoppers straight down, and this is going to be our first 2 outputs, our stackable items, and then all our Shulkerboxes. That's going to be in these first 2 double chests. Now if we come around to the back side of the system, you can start putting in the redstone, 2 blocks right there, with 2 comparators, just like so. Go ahead and have the first one go into a block, then down a block, 2 more blocks right there with a solid block against the hopper, and 3 bits of redstone dust. Then have a redstone torch, and then come over to the other side. We'll have 2 blocks right there with a repeater on 4 ticks, redstone dust, then have a block with a redstone torch going to the side of that. Then you're going to need an upper slab here, redstone dust, make sure the comparator is in subtract mode, then come up a block, over a block, have another comparator, and then you need to grab a furnace, and in the furnace you need to make sure to have 28 random junk blocks you don't care about. It can be in the top or bottom part of the furnace, it doesn't matter. You will never see those items again. Then from there, we are going to come out 1 temporary block. Go ahead and place in a barrel here. That barrel orientation doesn't matter, but I think it looks nice like that, so that's what I'm going to do. Now you're going to want a hopper go into that barrel, and then you're going to need a Shulkerbox on top of this. Now our next system here is going to be sorting out our Tridents, Flint and Steel, and Shears from all other non-stackable items. How we're going to do this is we are going to come over 2 temporary blocks like that. Go ahead and have a hopper going into the second temporary block. Then you're going to need an upward facing dispenser right there going into a target block. And then you can go ahead and have another dispenser facing inward right here with a hopper going into that dispenser like that. Then from the back side, we're going to have a solid block right there. Go ahead and have a comparator that's going to go straight into a solid block with a redstone dust and a torch off the side of that. We will come out 1 more block and then down, break that temporary block, put a piece of redstone dust there. Then we're going to come down 2 blocks, 1 block over, break that first, and then have 2 repeaters here. The first one on 3 ticks, the second one on 1 tick. Then come to this piece of redstone dust, come to the right of that, have a target block like that, redstone torch going up to a solid block. Then go ahead and grab a packed or blue ice block, have that right there, 2 bits of redstone dust, a solid block right there, another solid block. Go ahead and have a repeater on 2 ticks. Then you're going to need to have a solid block there, upper slab there, repeater on 1 tick, and then 3 bits of redstone dust right like that. Now, as weird as this system looks, it actually right there does all the sorting in order to sort Tridents, which it basically does by just dispensing the Tridents onto the target block right there. And then it also sorts out Shears and Flint and Steel because they will stay inside the dispenser, and all other non-stackable items will get shut out to the side to a hopper that we'll have right here. Now, in order to force all the items to come to a hopper right here, we do need to surround this with other blocks. So go ahead and have some blocks right here. I'm just going to use glass so I can see through. Then we're going to have a button right there. And then we're going to come to the other side, and I'm going to have an upper slab right there. That way I know I can stand right here and collect the tridents. So because we have all the cardinal directions filled except this one to the right, regardless which orientation you have the machine, the items will always end up here on this slab. Now our next two systems we are going to build is going to be the brewing stand, so that's going to be our potion sorter, and then we are going to have our chiseled bookshelf, so that's going to be our enchanted book sorter. Now for our output of both of these, we're just going to have a barrel right here, and then we're going to have a double chest right here. The barrel is going to be the output for the potions, and then the double chest is going to be the output for the enchanted books and book and quills. Now we do want to also have a barrel, that way we can put all our tridents in, so you can walk up here, and then you don't want to put the tridents in the barrel straight in front of you, which is part of the reason why I would recommend go ahead and put like an item frame, trapdoor, or something on this barrel to make sure you don't accidentally put items in that barrel. That barrel, if you put items in, it's going to go through the system, where this barrel right here to the right underneath the lamp is not. So this is where we can put all our tridents, and then of course if you put a trident over here, you would then have to repick it up. Next we're going to put in our hoppers for this part, so you can go ahead and break that temporary block, have a hopper going into the brewing stand, then have a block right here with a hopper going into that, a hopper going into the chiseled bookshelf, and then we're going to come out one temporary block, have a dropper facing out, another dropper facing in like this, and then you need a hopper facing into that first dropper. Now we're going to have this system be intertwined with the trident sorter and that redstone, so how we're going to do that is using a piston. We'll have that coming straight down from the side of this block, redstone torch on the side of that. We need a block down here with a piece of redstone dust, and that's going to go into a block right like that, and then we'll have another solid block right there, another block right there. We need a repeater on one tick there, repeater on 2 ticks, and then a redstone torch, then with a piece of redstone dust, and then you want a button right there. Next we're going to come back to this second dispenser we placed earlier off the side of the trident sorter, and we're going to deal with this. Now we are going to simply be creating where both of our shears and flint and steel come out, and that's going to come from 2 hoppers right here, and then a hopper facing into the other hopper that's right underneath the dispenser. You have a target block here with a redstone torch, and then we need an observer right here. This observer is going to detect anytime a flint and steel tries to light anything on fire here. But because there's an air block underneath, no fire should be lit, but still make sure that these blocks around it are not flammable, because you don't want that fire to burn anything. Then go ahead and have a block right here, down 2 blocks like so. We will go ahead and put a piece of redstone dust. We'll come down 1 more block, have a repeater here on 4 ticks. Then go ahead and have another solid block, another block there with a piece of redstone dust. Now we need this system to activate anytime that there's a flint and steel or shears in this dispenser. So we'll need a solid block there, a piece of redstone dust on top of it, have another block right here to the side of that, have 2 blocks come out like so, then have a temporary block with 1 block right here. Go ahead and have a repeater on 1 tick, then come out 1 more block, and have a redstone dust right there, if you can't see. Then have another piece of redstone dust there with a comparator, and if you broke this chest, then go ahead and replace it right like so. Then we're going to come to the other side of this block where that redstone dust is going up, have a repeater on 3 ticks. That's going straight into a solid block, and that's going to come down over. It's going to come over another block, and then it's going to come down where it can meet right up with this target block with a line of 3 redstone dust. And then again, as confusing as that looked, we just created our flint and steel and shears sorter. So if I went ahead and put a shears into the system, that will end up down here in the bottom chest. And if I put a flint and steel in the system, that will end up here in our top chest. And strangely enough, that is actually half our system complete. Now, basically what we have here is a simple slope of all the items coming all the way down here until they've reached ground 0. Now we need to go ahead and take all the items from ground 0 back up here to the top. So what we're going to do is coming from in front of this furnace next to this ice block, come straight down here, have a temporary block, and have an upward facing dropper. And go ahead and break that temporary block, and then we'll need a line of hoppers connecting that dropper with the dropper in here. So 2 hoppers out and 2 hoppers in, just like that. Now once we've made it back here, you need to go ahead and create a glass plus, just like this. I would highly recommend making this glass, because that way you're able to see what's happening inside of here. Then I'm going to go ahead and extend this plus all the way up. If there's any other solid blocks in your way, don't worry about them. Like that target block, that is completely fine. Bring this all the way up. And then when we get up here to the top, you then want a stair facing to the side like this. This is going to give the item enough momentum when it gets shot out to make it across the ice and into a hopper right here. Now we'll leave that for now. Come all the way back here to the bottom. Then we're going to need a target block right here. 2 blocks right there. We're going to need to have a comparator right here on subtract mode. Bit of redstone dust. Have a block right there. Repeater on 2 ticks. Then you need to have a block right there. We're going to need 3 repeaters here, each of them on 4 ticks. Then you need a solid block next to this bit of redstone dust. You need a block there, then come up 1 block. Have another repeater there on 4 ticks. Then you need a solid block right there, block there with a redstone dust. And right there, what we did is we created a clock, so anytime that there is items in this, that's going to go around and dispense it 1 every 3 seconds or so. And that's going to come all the way to our hopper we placed up here. Our next system is going to be our water bucket / axolotl drop point. So what we're going to do is we're going to come straight to this target block from the redstone dust, come over 1 temporary block, and have a dispenser facing here to the side. We go ahead and break that temporary block, and we're going to hook this up with our hopper line over there. So we'll come back 1 block, and we'll come over 3, down 1, and then we'll break that temporary hopper and put 2 hoppers like that. So it should make this a little bit of a 3, if you can see that. Now if we come over to where we have our dispenser, coming straight down, we are going to have 2 single chests right like this, a double chest, and then we're going to have a hopper going straight down into the first double chest, and then 2 hoppers going into each of those single double chests. I'm giving you 4 chests here in order to store all your water buckets, because that's probably the stackable item you have the most of. Now in front of this, I'm going to have 3 walls right here, and that's because behind the walls where we're actually keeping all our lays. So I'll have a double chest here, and then we'll have a hopper going into that chest, and then on top of this hopper, I would recommend having either some sort of a lower slab or trapdoor that you can waterlog, and to keep the axolotls on top of the hopper instead of actually down inside the hopper itself. Now when this dispenser gets fired into a wall, the only non-stackable item that's able to interact with the wall is the water bucket. All other non-stackable items will interact with this wall as if they are just coming out of a dropper. So because of that, we want to grab all those items using a hopper minecart and then take them over here to the side right on into a hopper. So you need to grab a wall right there, then you need 2 temporary blocks with 2 normal rails, hopper minecart, push that into the wall, and you should be able to break both those rails and blocks below. The minecart should be sitting right there. Then come above the minecart, go ahead and have a wall there, do a solid block, then come up 2 temporary blocks, go ahead and replace the bottom one with a piston, go ahead and activate the piston, and now that wall should be inside the minecart itself. It does 2 things there. One, of course, it makes sure that all the items that aren't water buckets get kept as item form. The other thing is that by having the wall and the minecart in that wall, it keeps the axolotls from interacting with the minecart, keeping that minecart in place. But that's also the reason why tropical fish and pufferfish can ruin the system, is it can accidentally knock that hopper minecart out of the way, which is why you need to avoid those 2 different types of fish from actually getting in this system. Now for the redstone for the system, it's really simple. You're going to want to have a solid block on top of that wall with a redstone torch to the side, redstone dust, upper slab with a repeater here on 4 ticks. Have 2 blocks right there, redstone dust right there, redstone dust there as well, have a solid block there, observer facing in with a repeater going to nowhere on 3 ticks. Then you need 2 blocks right here. Go ahead and come up 1, break that temporary block. You're going to need a comparator there, redstone dust right there, upper slab. You can break that temporary block, and then you can have a rail right there with an observer facing directly inwards off the side of that rail. So now anytime a water bucket comes through the system, that water bucket will be waterlogged. It will waterlog that wall, and then that water bucket will come all the way down here into the chest, and all other non-stackable items will come to this hopper right here. The next system after the water bucket is the powder snow and lava bucket sorter. That is arguably the most complex and difficult part of this entire sorter. That's going to all come down to 2 double chests, and the first double chest is going to be there, the one above that. Then you need a hopper behind it with another double chest right like this, and you might have to squeeze right on in there. You want it on the side, just like that. Then you can go ahead and close in this tiny little area to make sure that whenever the axolotls get dispensed, they are stuck in that little chamber. Then from the side of this hopper, you need an inward facing dispenser, just like that. Then we'll need a sticky piston facing straight down with a solid block. Then you need an observer right here to the side facing straight down. Have a solid block right there. Then you need a sticky piston facing straight down right off the side of that rail. And then a sticky piston to the side right off that wall. You can have a torch on top of that sticky piston, and a torch off the side like that. You can then go ahead and have a glass block right there. You're going to need a temporary block there. You need an upward facing dropper, a dropper facing sideways, just like that. Make sure that this is a dropper, not dispenser. And then we'll need 2 hoppers going into that lower dropper. And then go ahead and grab scaffolding, 1 scaffolding here, and 1 scaffolding here to the side. Now we're going to come all the way back to where we have our dispenser facing inward. We're going to need a target block right there. Go ahead and have a block right there. Block up to the side. Here have a comparator facing directly inward. Then we're going to come down a temporary block with an upper slab. Break that temporary block. Have a repeater there on 4 ticks. And then you need to grab a hopper. And that hopper is going to go from the dispenser into that double chest right there. Now coming straight back up. You can have 2 blocks right there, redstone dust on each of those. Then we're going to come up 1 block right there, redstone dust. You need a glass block there. You can have a solid block there, solid block there. Then you need 2 repeaters here. Second one on 4 ticks, first one on 2. Then you need to go ahead and have a sticky piston right here, the inward facing observer. That's going to go straight into a solid block right here with a repeater on 4 ticks. Going straight into a solid block. Then you're going to need a repeater here on 1 tick. That's going straight into a solid block. Out the back side, break the temporary block. 2 blocks here with redstone dust going into a solid block with a repeater right here on 3 ticks. And then you need a redstone torch there and there. And then go ahead and look over a 1 tick, 3 tick, 2 tick, 4 tick repeater. We're going to come out 1 block right here. Redstone dust. And then we're connecting this redstone dust up with this repeater, with this 4 tick repeater down here. So 2 bits of redstone dust like that. And we want to keep the redstone dust from connecting, so solid block right there. Then coming straight down here to the bottom, where you have a sticky piston facing straight down, you need to grab your redstone block and your normal piston. Redstone block there, down 2 blocks, you need a normal piston facing straight up. 2 blocks right there. Coming to the other side, you need a redstone torch. 2 bits of redstone dust. And off the side, this redstone block, have 2 solid blocks right there. Have a comparator, redstone dust, and your redstone torch right here. Now the only last thing that I have forgotten is we need 1 more hopper right here going into the powder snow chest. Now if you haven't done so already, as we've been building the system, I'm assuming that you have tested the system to make sure you haven't messed anything up as we've gone along. But especially at this point, it is very easy for you to be missing a tick on a repeater or a block to be missing. So just go in here, go in the dispenser, put a powder snow in, make sure that comes down here to this bottom chest. Go ahead and come into the dispenser, put a lava bucket, make sure that ends up in this upper chest right here. If both those things happen, then your system is built correctly, and it's time to continue to the minecart and boat sorters. We're going to start by having 2 double chests right here. Go ahead and have a hopper into the bottom one, hopper straight down, another chest right there, 2 hoppers out, and then 1 hopper in. You need 2 glass blocks right in those 2 gaps, like that. Grab your dispensers, have 1 dispenser facing out like that, 1 dispenser facing out like that, and then a hopper into the first dispenser right there, 2 of them just like so. Then we're going to come down with a double chest underneath our glass block and over 1. And you can have a hopper into that double chest. And then in the upper half of that double chest, go ahead and have an upper slab, sand right there. Then go ahead and grab your cactus, and then have some sort of glass or solid block on top of the cactus. We don't want the cactus to grow. We are just using it between both the boat and the minecart actual breakage of the actual entity. For the boat, they will get pushed in by water, but for the minecart, there's going to be a powered rail right on top of this hopper. So let's do that right now. I will have a powered rail right there. Depending on your orientation of your system, sometimes it's going to face directly into the cactus. If not, just simply redirect it like that, and you're good as gold. Have a solid block there, you need a glass block there, and a solid block on top of that. And then go ahead and grab the lever, put that on the glass block, and turn it on. Then coming around to the other side, we do need to grab an iron bar and some sort of wall to be on top of these two hoppers. Then you need to grab 4 glass blocks, have 2 glass blocks here, one on top of the dispenser, and one connecting to the wall, just like so. Then you can grab your water bucket, have that water bucket in between all 3 of those glass blocks, so it flows down to that empty little airspace, but across so it's on top of both that glass block and that hopper. Then I'm going to use glass blocks on top of the system. I would recommend that way you're able to see in case there's an issue, and then you need 4 blocks right there. Then I'm going to go ahead and come around to the other side. Then grabbing my rails, I'm going to need 2 powered rails right there, 1 more up the hill, and then a normal rail there at the corner, then 3 more right there, and then 1 more leading directly towards where the minecarts get destroyed. And then coming right around back to the beginning, I'm going to go ahead and have a block there with 2 levers to have these powered rails always powered. Now how we're going to actually activate these dispensers, we're going to just piggyback off of the red system. So go ahead and grab a repeater and observer. You're going to need an observer directly off of that repeater on 4 ticks. You're going to come up a block and then have a repeater right there on 4 ticks as well. Now we have 2 more double chests left. We have our music disc or record sorter, and then our general any other non-stackable items that we haven't sorted already. Now how we're going to do this is I'm going to start with our record sorter. So that's going to be right there. Then you're going to need a temporary block there with an upward facing dropper. You're going to need a hopper going into that dropper with a jukebox right there. Then I'm going to come around to the other side. I'm going to break this temporary block. Then I'm going to go ahead and have a temporary block there with an inward facing observer and a solid block there. And now I can break those 2 temporary blocks just like so. Now if I come around to the other side, I can then go ahead and have a dropper facing inward like this, another dropper, and then an upward facing dropper right there with a double chest right on top of that. Then I'm going to come to the inside and have 2 hoppers, one facing into the dropper and one facing into the jukebox. Then I'm going to come out 2 solid blocks right like that, have a comparator on subtract mode with a repeater on 4 ticks going into a solid block. Then I'm going to have solid block right there, redstone dust, have a dropper, have an observer with a redstone torch. Then coming up on top of that dropper, you want a repeater facing this direction on 4 ticks, a piece of redstone dust right there. And then coming around to the other side, you need another block right there with another repeater facing out on 3 ticks. You need an observer right there. That's going straight into a solid block. And then 2 bits of redstone dust right like that. Now the nice thing with how this record sorter is designed is if a record comes in, it will start playing that record, and then when the other records come in or any other non-stackable items, it will stay in this top chest. So if, for example, you're in the area, you didn't realize that you put a record in and you hear it, you can just come in here and double check and look in this double chest right there through this upper slab. If you see that there's other records here, you could just pick them out and sort them manually, or you can do the same thing with any other non-stackable item. If you want that record to stop playing or finish sorting the rest of the items in this double chest above it automatically, then you just need to come in here, tap the record. You will hopefully pick it up. It might end up going around the other side, depending on laws of Minecraft, and then you can put it in the double chest. If you decide you don't want to do that, then you just have to listen to the entire song in order for the record to sort itself. But that is how you build the entire impossible item sorter. If you have any questions or comments, of course, let me know down in the comment section below or join my Discord. If you want to see how to build the additional armor stand sorter that sorts out armor and tools, it is a semi-automatic sorter, meaning that the player just has to place the armor stands and everything else is completely automatic. There's a simple video on it that explains how that works, but I'll show you how to add it on real quick. This system's going to plug in right underneath of our ending double chest right there. So break that block, then we're going to have a dispenser right there, and you can have a hopper going into that dispenser. You then need a pressure plate right on top. It needs to be one of the metal ones, so for example the iron or gold. Then you need piston facing in right like that. Then have a lower facing stair just like that. Next, off of a temporary block, go ahead and have a double chest right there. And go ahead and have a hopper going into the double chest from that upside down stair. Then I'm going to use glass blocks for the rest of this because it looks a lot cooler. I'm going to go ahead and surround this area right here. I'm going to go ahead and have another double chest right here, and then have a hopper going into that double chest and break that first block. Now right here, this is going to be the kill chamber. This is where the armor stands are going to get destroyed by this piston. So that piston is going to activate anytime this pressure plate gets activated. So we're going to have a bit of redstone dust right down here. And then off the side of that, have a redstone torch. It's going to go straight up one block tower up to another redstone torch, another solid block up there. Then you can use either solid or glass blocks, or we're simply going to come right around here, have 4 bits of redstone dust like so. Go ahead and fill in that gap there. You're going to need a solid block with a lever right like so, right there. You're going to want to have some walls on the system, so I'm going to do that all the way around like so. And then if you want to make it look really nice and clean, you can use trapdoors right here in the front instead of full blocks. Then go ahead and grab your water bucket, have that going in the front so it curves around the corner, and then use an iron bar right there. Then we need to grab a trident. Go ahead and throw that trident all the way in there, and if you hit the lever a time or two, that trident should get in its place. Now this lever is here basically because whenever you are placing in armor stands, there's going to be a couple extra so you can clean them up really quickly just by flicking that lever. This lever, besides the very end when you are done and you're wanting to clean up, you don't need a touch, and you simply just stand right here, grab your armor stands, and then go ahead and place them on this block. You can hold, and it will place them all. And every time it goes over this pressure plate, that will cause this dispenser underneath it to fire, and if that item can be dispensed onto the armor stand, it will end up in this chest over here. And if the item cannot be dispensed onto the armor stand, it will end up in the chest to the left. If you'll make it even more technical, you can of course add an armor stand sorter, so that way you can sort out all your armor stands from all the other non-stackable items. But that's just a simple non-stackable item sorter. If you guys have any other questions or comments, of course let me know down in the comment section below. But this has been Rocket Builder, and I'll see you all in the next video.